Hi everybody. My name is Fritz. I have written this GUI 64 for the Commodore 64, the graphical user interface, and you are watching Scene World Podcast.
Hi, it's the Scene World Podcast. I'm that guy, and he's that other guy.
Hi, I'm Jörg.
Yeah, hi.
Exactly.
This is the Scene World Podcast, and in a brief moment, we will be talking with Eric Migicovsky from Pebble.
Exactly.
About his
Which is kind of, a continuation or something, because it is, as you say, historical interview. I say pioneer interview because he is the inventor of the smartwatches as a type of device, type of gadget, right?
Yeah. I heard about them a long time ago from you because you had one, or we're talking about getting
exactly.
one.
I got the original Pebble in 2014, and then I got the Pebble Time that was the successor in color. I got both of them, and yes, that's true. And and it's the first time since 4 years, because 4 years ago was the last time we had an pioneer interview, and I basically discontinued those because people barely watched it compared to the podcast. So now
and we can roll them into the podcast, kind of.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to say. You took it. You took it from me, and now this historical interview, pioneer interview, is part of the podcast. So hopefully it will get the attention it's supposed to get, because it's worth it. He's a very charming guy. It was a very friendly, very nice interview, and I learned a lot, and hopefully you will too. Which is quite nice, because you have all those other manufacturers, Fitbit, Apple, and so on, basically coming after, but he is the one who invented it. So
right.
We also talk briefly about that, and we also talk about the new Pebbles that are coming from his store at repebble.com. It's Repebble because Pebble remains at Google, and Google is using it for forwarding to their Fitbit store.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
now we should also point out that when we rolled these into ones, it wasn't necessarily because the historical stuff wasn't. When we started this, the idea was podcast is going to be for people that have things to promote, and
exactly.
And the historical was just for stuff, talking to people that weren't necessarily doing anything, but they had something of value to talk about from what they had done in the past.
Right.
And as we did more of these, we started realizing that we were doing podcasts with people that had, or we were waiting for people to have something to promote before we talked to them. And then we would end up talking to them mostly about the past rather than the thing that they're promoting now.
True. Yeah.
And we realized that we're just kind of we're doing the historical interviews in the podcast, and we're doing almost like we're doing a podcast at the historical interview at times. So why are we doing this differently?
Right. And I always had to think, if the podcast, which is also an audio format most of the time, because people rather listen to it sometimes than watching the YouTube version.
Well, it was only an audio version for the first 100, 120 or something like
that. Chess and
we did an occasional video podcast in the beginning, but they were mostly just audio for the first run of them until we figured, we're recording the video anyway, we might as well use it.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, also my personal reason was why putting all the effort in it if the podcast is the one that has having more traffic than the historical interviews. And now we are unifying both worlds into one, and it's now getting the traffic it deserves. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's not a one-off, but honestly, I did so many interviews about the invention of, the mobile phones, DSL, broadband, internet, and so on. There's not much left to invite,
I'm sure that there's
regarding
I'm sure there's plenty of stuff we could still find.
of inventors,
Not necessarily inventors, but things that are historically significant.
pioneering.
Yeah. I mean, they're you don't necessarily have to invent something to pioneer it or to be a big name in it.
I mean, we had TV presenters, we had book authors, but in all cases they were the first doing it. So
right, but like I said, there's other, they're not limited to. The inventors are not the ones that necessarily are the only person involved with it. There's.
True.
You've got the inventor of the cell phone, but then you've also got the inventor of like the person that decided, hey, we can make this thing over here. Or we can make it a tablet. We can make it a screen, an iPhone, or whatever. They didn't invent the thing, but they had a significant impact on its evolution.
Yeah, but I guess getting John Ivy is pretty hard.
I don't know what he's been doing these days. He might be willing to come out and have a chat, but I don't know.
Hey Johnny, want to talk to us about
Johnny,
how you designed the first iPhone?
Anyway, though, the Pebble is in a little bit, and specifically, I don't even think we're talking about a watch today. You're talking about the ring thing, right?
No, both.
Okay. I mean, because that's the newest product. It's a little
No,
ring.
That's not true. The newest product is the Pebble Round 2.
Oh, okay.
The round version of the watch.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
All right. Well, cool.
But it's interesting how he defends the ring. Because I was discussing with him all the negative comments in the YouTube video
by me
of the podcast episode where people were complaining about the not exchangeable rechargeable battery that you had to send it in for recycling.
Yeah.
Most people hated that idea, and yeah. Anyway, before that, some news.
News.
I got two of them.
Okay.
One is that Good Old Games, now that it's owned by, as we know, one of the Polish co-founders of CD Projekt Red. They announced they want to take a closer look in 2026 at the possibility to support Linux more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as an operating system. According to the news portal Gaming on Linux.
All right. Yeah, I'm down with that. That's great. I wish more things did support Linux, because that's one of those things where so for anyone out there that isn't aware, I'm a Mac user. And I don't like Windows. It's not a functionality issue, because it works fine. I just am not. There's something about it I just don't like.
I like it.
Yeah, plenty of people do. I had a gaming machine which is currently in pieces over there because it kicked the bucket the other day. But I rarely used it. I would love to be able to try Linux, and the problem that I have with that is that there are so many pieces of software that I have that I have built a workflow on. That you can get on Mac, you can get them on Windows, but there is no Linux version, and there's nothing equivalent to it there to make the switch easy. So, if more companies and publishers and developers would support that, and I don't imagine, because macOS is at its heart a flavor of Unix, so I don't see how it would be that big of a deal to port it to Linux.
I mean, you tried
that.
it a bit. I even sent you some CDs sometime,
Mm-hmm.
and you said the experience wasn't ideal.
Well, so that in that instance, you were that was the olden days. That was Mandriva, however you say it, and that was
Mandriva, because it's from Conectiva, which is Brazilian Portuguese.
Right, and at that point,
and Mandrake.
Right, and that was a
unified.
Yeah, and that was on a PowerPC Mac I was installing it on too, which has its own little issues with that, with doing anything like that. So nowadays, I've played with it. I've had Ubuntu. I've installed on several machines. I've installed Mint. I've messed around with. They are good operating systems. They're easy to use. They're pleasant and stable. But again, it's just the software library doesn't exist for them in the same way that it does for Windows or Mac.
I would argue, however, that there are more applications even for Windows compared to Mac.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. But I'm saying that for me, I've built a workflow based on these apps that I have on the Mac.
Right.
I could go to Windows and get most of them on Windows. They exist. I can't go to Linux and get them there. I can get maybe half of them, if that.
Reminds me of the story where Bill Gates rescued Apple by porting Microsoft Office to macOS, which is still to this day a very huge success.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where Microsoft Office on the Mac and on PC, I mean, that benefited Microsoft more than anybody else because they can sell it, Office to Windows users. I can sell it to Mac users.
I mean, marketing,
Yeah. But I don't know where I was going. Either way, but you can't get it on Linux. There is no, they've got OpenOffice. They've got a couple of things that kind of work like it.
I mean, you can use Wine.
Yeah, kind of. It's just a lot of effort to go through to do something that I can do in a minute on another, platform.
I mean, here's the thing: you can get it in Wine, but then you can only load and save in the default configuration in that little emulation container,
right,
where the application runs.
Well, plus if I'm running,
it's like,
plus it's not going to be very efficient for me to run like my video editing software in Wine on a Unix or a Linux machine, and then try to export stuff within that abstraction. It's just going to slow everything down by factors of big factors.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not. Yeah, I can run Windows on the Mac in Parallels, but it's not going to run at the speed I need it to.
Right.
Anyway,
Because
I don't know what we're talking
basically
about.
a VM.
Yeah, I don't know how we got on that, but anyway.
Anyway, second news.
Mhm.
Repair Cafe International. We interviewed Martina Postma a few years ago. In the latest newsletter, they mentioned that the Citizens Climate Council of the Netherlands wants more repair cafes. They write in their newsletter.
Okay.
So they want to expand that offer, I would say. More repair cafes in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There should be more of those. That's a great idea.
In the council, 175 Dutch citizens considered the question.
Yeah.
Travel in a way that is better for the climate. Point was software updates for as long as the technical lifespan of a device.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will link to that newsletter article. It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Cool. I got one bit of news here, which is more of a product than anything else. So I guess the Kickstart 8 event that occurred in sometime this year in the last month. One of the products there was there's a video up online that on YouTube that I'll put a link to from Retronaut, where he shows off a prototype 1084 SX monitor. So what this is it's a flat panel screen, but it looks like the old 1084S monitor.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not even sure it looks like the 1084. It looks like there's a couple of different 1084 models apparently, and they look different.
There are.
Yes. Because when I saw this, I was like, that doesn't look like a 1084 I know. But that's because it was a different kind of thing.
But they were all made by Philips.
Yeah.
So
this one,
it's actually, there is a black TV model from Philips that is identical from the 1084S, the stereo models.
Yeah.
The only difference is, obviously, it also has a TV tuner in it.
So this thing is mostly they're marketing it towards the Amiga because that used the 1084S. But
and the C64 obviously.
Yes, but that's not. They aren't specifically saying that the C64. They're because I think this is mostly an Amiga event. But it will, for a 64 or 128, sure, it'll work great for that. And it's got the extra thing in that because the case is built like a 1084S monitor, and this is just a flat panel screen in there, there's a whole lot of extra space. So they show in the video that there's a back panel that is 3D printed for putting a machine inside the monitor, so you could put like your
awesome.
Your Ultimate 64 or your Raspberry Pi or your Amiga, whatever the little emulated Amiga things are. You can stick all them in there, and right now it's I guess there's a prototype. They're talking about doing something else with it. Be interesting to see where that goes. I hope it does well. I think they should potentially crowdsource it. It could be a thing.
Crowdsource? I thought it's crowdfund.
What? Oh, crowdfund it. Yeah, but either way, yeah, it's cool, and you should check it out, and we'll put a link to that so that you can see it.
And I'm a crowd.
Yeah. The only thing is that it is a flat panel, so it isn't still. The cool thing about the 1084 wasn't necessarily what it looked like. It was the CRT part of it. So,
the sharpness.
Right, and but also the blurriness that is inherent in a CRT. Like that's kind of like the CRT. It doesn't matter how much the flat panel tries to look like a CRT. It's not going to have the same characteristics.
Right.
And so that's kind of it would be nice if you could retrofit a CRT in there, but
and the problem is
what they're going for
with curved TFTs, it's bent in the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, I understand what they're going for, which is just mostly the case. Because I mean, if you look at these machines here, like my 64 back there has a sharp monitor, and it's just flat screen, and it doesn't match anything else. It's just it's a gray silvery looking thing, and it's a Dell monitor over on the Amiga, and again, it doesn't match anything. So I see where they're going with it, making something that will fit the aesthetic of the desk, kind of, but for me, it's more important to have an authentic kind of experience, and that this Sharp TV is a TV, but it's a flat panel, but it's also an SD flat panel. Like it's an early one before they did like the HD widescreen stuff, so it has like the same resolution that 1084 would have, and things look just like it without the monitor flicker. But it looks as close as you can find
4x3?
Yeah, right. Yes, and it looks as close as you're going to get to that without being an actual CRT.
Yeah.
I've got a couple.
Yeah, many people don't know that, but the early TFTs were actually 4x3.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got the
16:9
plug in on it.
Came later.
Yeah. It's a yeah. So yeah, cool. It's a cool thing. Check it out. Maybe they can. They talk. They just look some blah 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 blah. Those are words coming out of my face that didn't make any sense. There's some other things in the video too. They look at there's a Sidekick 64, and an Apollo A6000. There's a couple of different things that they look at in that video, because it's not about that. It's the kind of the reveal for that monitor prototype that happens to be at this event. But the event has a lot of other stuff in it. So
perhaps I could mention the now I forgot it. The joystick project from Poland.
Yeah.
Unithor.
Unithor joystickle, yeah.
Yeah, Unithor from Unijoyce.
Yeah.
They actually made the survey for the backers. That means shipping is close.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool.
Yep. That will be awesome.
We talked to them. When did we talk to them? That was a while ago.
That was June 2022. 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, because in between they had some problems within the team and some lawsuit that they won actually. So the original team got together and resumed the project.
Oh, okay.
So no money was lost from the backers. So
there are
it's
so many
fulfilled
things
now.
There are so many things that we talked to that, like, I wish that they had. There was those people that were making the replacement Amiga keycaps.
Yeah.
I think.
No, it was not keycaps. It was a keyboard.
Oh,
and
okay.
the brainchild, who was Australian, didn't want to make promotion via email for it because his business partner was this woman from China, and he didn't want to have a bad feeling caused by people because it's from China. And we both were like, who gives a fuck? As long as the project is known and you get enough backers investing in it.
We talked to her. We talked to the woman.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that she was the main person behind it. It was like she was doing like a project with her daughter or something.
No, it was a friend from Australia.
Okay.
No family members involved.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason why she is involved is that because she is a hardware expert and she moved from China to Australia. So she had all the connections. But because
I wish more had come of it, because there are such cool and this is there is ripe stuff for the new Commodore. If they want to be relevant going forward past the point where people stop buying the new Ultimate 64s or 64, whatever the hell they call it. These are things that
Starlight. always reminds me about Starlight Express, the musical.
Well, these are things that it would kind of people that it would behoove them to partner with, because you're selling a C64. How cool would it be to also sell a 1084 monitor to go with it? Like there's things that you could do that other people
make a new CRT.
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, but you could with the, I think the new do the Ultimate 64s, they have like HDMI output. Is that a thing I'm talking about?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got the hardware in there to kind of convert that and make it something interesting and good. So you could partner with this group that is making a flat panel 1084 and ensure that the quality is good enough to be, like a tie-in product. You could partner with them and help.
It would be cheaper.
Right, it would be cheaper. It would require a little bit of capital at first from the company to maybe help back the thing up. But then, like, once you've got it in production, you'll make that back pretty quick, because I assume people would like to buy an actual branded monitor.
Exactly. And they
These
would buy
that could be
more if it's from Commodore.
Right. Exactly. These are ways that they can, because I've said my biggest, I don't want to even call it a criticism. My biggest wondering about the new Commodore is how will they come out and they release the machine and they have a spike of sales because people are excited. But at a certain point, that's going to level off. Selling new Commodore 64 is not a long-term business plan. So, there has to be something else in the pipeline. And I know they're doing some software, some games and stuff like that, but at a certain point, you would think like things like, they've already partnered with Gideon for the boards. And, having like a like an Ultimate 1541 tie-in or something. I think the Ultimate 64 kind of has that built into it a little bit.
It has.
Yeah, but there's
only a little bit, but completely.
Right. Oh, okay. But there's things like that. There's other tie-in products that they could theoretically partner with someone to produce, and then officially brand them as such. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, Andre Fachat, the former project lead of Vice, the versatile emulator, actually asked a question about the floppy emulation of the Ultimate 64 to Commodore, and I kind of chimed in, and because he said he is not satisfied with the answer from Commodore, and I was like, why don't you talk to Gideon?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's the one who designed it.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a great Facebook group which is based on Gideon's designs, and it's questions. He updates people, gives people advice on how to use things and how to fix problems, and it's very well. He's very active in that community. So.
Right. Yeah. Now I wonder if I can find it, but right now I can't. Well, if I find it, I will link it to the podcast description.
There you go.
This small discussion on X about the Ultimate 1541 included in the Ultimate C64 Starlight. I like how it says official Commodore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to all the unofficial Commodores.
Exactly. Did we have any news about that, by the way?
No,
Or we don't?
we don't.
Oh, I see.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Right. Okay, well, then I would guess let's jump to Eric
Woo.
and talk about the invention of smart
Talk about
watches.
rocks. I mean pebbles.
Ooh, that was a low-key lame one.
Yeah. Pretend y'all didn't hear that.
What comes next? Stones?
Potentially, yeah. I got the boulders for it.
Yeah, the boulders. I got the balls. I'm choking on them almost.
Yeah.
All right.
You're choking on balls?
Because I was coughing. Yeah, still got a bit of my Christmas flu.
Okay.
That sounds more dirty than it was supposed to.
Yeah.
All right. Before we losing it, let's go to Eric. So today we have another guest, and actually an inventor since a while now, and we are talking to Eric Migicovsky, and you are basically mostly known for being the inventor of the smartwatch.
Yes.
Oh my god. And I actually know that my first smartwatch, of course, was a Pebble, and I went so far till the second Kickstarter, which had the color Pebble. Yeah. And well, unfortunately, then you sold to Fitbit, and
now we're back 10 years later. So Pebble relaunched in 2025 as a mostly open source project, and
exactly.
It's back.
And that's why we are talking today, actually.
Yeah.
But as always, let's perhaps start, because I always ask our guests, how did you get into tech? What was your starting point? Early on.
Probably at a very, very young age. I played a lot with Lego, and I think it's probably the gateway.
Lego, that's special. Okay.
Yeah, no, I played a lot with Lego. I spent a lot of time building things. I did a lot of little electronics projects as a kid, and got my hands pretty dirty through that. And then later in high school, I started building larger electronics projects, robots, remote control cars, that kind of thing. And eventually went to school for engineering. I studied systems design engineering at the University of Waterloo. And then while I was there, I started working on. I was studying in Europe at the time. I was doing an exchange program to TU Delft in the Netherlands, and then started working on Pebble back then.
So you also know a bit of Dutch, I suppose.
Yeah, ik spreek Nederlands.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you. It's quite interesting, yeah. And then what was the point where you said we need to make a new generation of devices? I mean, I remember that when it was a smartphone, when the Apple iPhone was out there, I mean, people are mostly pretty skeptical when something new is coming up, some new kind of devices. It's like, I really need that?
The iPhone was called the Jesus phone at the time. It was amazing. Like to be alive during, to be around during the beginning of the iPhone was incredible. It was, I think, widely regarded as a complete, like, people knew it was different. It was something incredible. Being able to carry around the power of the internet and everything in your pocket was just an incredible feeling. And I was someone who had every generation of PDA, Pocket PC, Palm Pilot, even proto smartphones before, but there was a dramatic shift between everything that came before the iPhone and the iPhone. Yeah, it was amazing.
it was a time where mostly when you talked about a smartphone, it would be a BlackBerry and only for business, right?
I don't even know if people called BlackBerry smartphones. I guess they were. I can't even remember exactly when the term smartphone came about. But no, BlackBerries didn't have touchscreens. They were generally more for
Exactly.
email and for messaging. They used an internet service called WAP. I was just talking about that with a friend the other day. WAP. I don't even know what it stands for. Wide Area Protocol or something like that.
Exactly,
Wireless.
yeah, which was so expensive in Germany.
Yeah, no one used
I
it.
didn't have it. I didn't have
Exactly. And like websites were formatted in a special, it didn't feel like you were harnessing the power of the internet.
and it was
And
slow. Oh my god.
it was
Yeah.
slow, exactly. And so yeah, there was something special and different with the iPhone that unlocked this kind of capability. And there were a few other products at the time that I remember, like the Nokia N70 and then the N900, which was like a Linux computer with a keyboard that you could, slide up. That was really cool. But no, it was a special time.
And what was the point where you said, I want to have something on my wrist that is smart?
In 2008.
2008. Okay.
Yeah, no, I began working on smartwatches in 2008, mostly to solve a personal problem. I was living in Europe at the time. I was living in the Netherlands, and I
As
bicycled
you just
everywhere.
said, yeah.
And being on your bike in Holland, you're very prone to uh, dropping things off your bike. And I had a new iPhone at the time, and I didn't want to drop my iPhone onto the cobblestones, or I didn't want to drop it into the canal if I was taking it out while I was biking to check to see who's calling or texting me. And so I came up with the idea of creating a little bicycle computer that could sit on the handlebars of your bike and would show you who was texting or calling you. You know, those little bike computers that people used to have.
Oh yes. Oh
Um,
sure.
and so I, thought of it that way, and then very quickly realized that it would be better suited as a watch on your wrist rather than a bike computer.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit the most use case I have for is, I mean, actually the best use case is every year when I'm at Gamescom as an exhibitor. And at Gamescom, I don't know if you have ever been there. I don't know if you even are into computer games. Probably not. Yeah. It's so loud. 500,000 visitors. The only option, the only way to not miss an important notification is your wrist with a smartwatch, because you are so busy and everybody is approaching you all the time. A phone in your in your jeans pocket is just disregarded, because it will vibrate on your leg or whatever, but I don't know, like after the 50th time you don't feel it anymore and you forget about it.
I know the feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was just at CES a couple of weeks ago where there were hundreds of thousands of people, and yeah, very little time to take out your phone, and it's nice to have a quick heads up screen on your wrist.
exactly. Yeah, when something vibrates or tickles on your wrist, you tend to not ignore that. At least me, I don't know.
Wow.
It seems to work a lot better.
I think of it as a 1-bit neural interface. It's the
Right.
first kind of human computer interface that we wore on our bodies. And you could tell if it was vibrating or not. That's about the only signal that you can get out of it.
Exactly. Yes, I guess because you are getting otherwise so used to it, having it all the time, that's some vibrating in your pocket. In regards of a phone, isn't something special anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, I guess it would disturb you in daily life. Yeah, this is quite interesting because I saw you are not only making the Pebble again with core devices, but you are very open about it. I mean, you have your own podcast. How
Yeah.
many creators are doing that? Going so open and showing every step of the product development, even going so far of inviting a Chinese hardware manufacturer to come to the US and talk with you
No,
in
it's been great.
person on.
I, I
Awesome.
I think, if you look at the original Pebble Kickstarter posts, we were
Yeah.
extremely transparent. We talked and it was mostly because we ourselves were learning in real time uh, what it was like to build hardware. None of us at the time when we launched our first product on Kickstarter had ever been to China. We'd never been to a factory. We'd never made a consumer product in volume like this, and it was great. And I think we're still learning. It's 10, 15 years later, and I'm learning new things all the time. It's great to be able to share it, and I think the big difference this time around than the first kind of Pebble adventure is that it feels a lot more like a you know passion project than a startup. This time, we don't have any investors. There's no
Mm.
big company. We only have a few friends of mine who are working on the project with me, and we can just do whatever we want to do. And one of those things that I like to do is share kind of the progress and what we're working on and how we're building things, and happy to do it.
You're an expert by now. You know what went wrong and what you can improve to avoid making the same mistake again, right? So,
Well, I like to say that we'll make new, more creative mistakes. We won't
uh,
try to make the same mistake, but we'll make new ones.
I remember that back in the day, you have been criticized a lot for being a Kickstarter company because I think Pebble was one of the first,
The
products
first big one.
that relied,
Definitely the first big Kickstarter
yeah,
campaign. Yeah.
that relied on backer money all the time. And I remember, at least here in Germany, the IT press was like, it's not really a healthy company if it's
Really?
relying
I don't
on
think I remember hearing that. We raised over $42 million on Kickstarter through 3 different Kickstarter campaigns. I thought it was great. In fact, there's some companies that I'm close with. Like, one of my friend runs a company called Peak Design, which makes these incredible backpacks that I love.
Hmm.
And they started on Kickstarter around the same time in 2012, 2013, and they're still doing Kickstarters 13 years later. I think it's a great way to kind of connect to a community. And there's a whole new generation of 3D printers that are launching on Kickstarter. Um, Especially a lot of Chinese companies that are launching them. And yeah, it's a great opportunity for companies to connect with the people that are passionate about the products. Like, in the old generation before Kickstarter, you used to have a company like Sony or Apple that would, have a big announcement. They'd walk on stage and they'd say, here's the new product that everyone is going to use. And some people would like it, some people wouldn't, but there'd be no feedback loop. It would be very difficult to see, how do you actually have an influence on that product? How do you connect with the people that are making it? I think Kickstarter kind of changed that and made it much more transparent and open, and much more of this cycle of feedback and integration of that feedback and improvement of the products.
It's true, but on the other hand, unfortunately, it was also a time where people learned after a while that investing in a product doesn't actually mean you will actually receive the product in the end. So
Yes, that
because
was
a
a big.
lot of people were like, I will never do any crowdfunding ever again because I never received my products. So
Yeah, I don't actually know if have you ever not received one of your crowdfunding products?
yes,
Okay.
I was I was backing for Phase 5, which was the project on keycaps for the Commodore 64
Oh, yeah?
keyboard in Innsbruck, Austria. And that guy actually was planning on molding the keycaps himself with his own machinery, his own staff, and then laser printing the letters on them. And he totally miscalculated, had to fire everybody, and everything went south.
Hmm.
so in the end, I lost like 700
Wow.
euros because over the year the Indiegogo it was running.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, now I have a bit more money. Let's do a second batch order and a third batch order, and of course, I never received any of those batches. So
Yeah, that is one of the things that came along with crowdfunding. Absolutely, people getting, but as you see, you form this closer connection to the project and understand the kind of positives and negatives.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I like to think that yeah, that definitely is painful, and I'm sure that a lot of people have a similar experience.
yeah.
But at the same time, the sheer number of projects that were never would have existed is just incredible.
Also
I
true.
think
Also true.
there's
Yeah.
uh, a level of kind of creativity that couldn't have been found in the classic kind of startup or even big company product development process.
Right. Well, that was just one example I had. Another one was that I kickstart backed a documentary about game development in the 80s in UK, and unfortunately the creator died of cancer. Well,
Oh,
that's bad luck, you know.
that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
his wife actually got access to his account, and she said she would try to finish the project of of her husband, because she's also into filmmaking, but she in the end she never got it over her heart to
Mm.
finish, to pick up the pieces and finish it, you know. So
Yeah.
that's sometimes how it happens. Yeah, but I mean, also you have to advantage. I saw you are also very known and a big figure in the mobile market. I mean, you have also been guest on a podcast of Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher,
Yeah.
also somebody I appreciate a lot, and we also had as a guest in the podcast. So on the podcast, so you are pretty much in the business right now. So I guess with core devices you can't fail, right? It's almost impossible.
Well, it's set up in a very different way than kind of a traditional startup. This is,
Mm,
my third go around now of starting a company, and I have taken kind of a long look at what do I personally enjoy and like about starting companies and building new products, and what are the things that I, you know, don't like as much. I've decided
mm,
to structure this company around the things that I love doing, and everyone has different priorities and different things that they enjoy. I love building new products. I love getting them manufactured. I love getting them out into the world. I don't love the act of kind of building a big company. I did that once. I did that with Pebble. I enjoyed it at the time, and I wouldn't have changed too much. But it's not something that now with hindsight I look back and say like I really that's not the best part of starting a new company in my opinion. And so this whole enterprise has been structured around kind of doing the things that I enjoy doing, that I like doing, and I think that's you know kind of a second or third time founder thing rather than something I might have known at the beginning when I was starting it for the first time.
hmm. So as I remember, I don't know how much is true about it. It was like overproduction, and then you didn't sell enough of the manufactured units.
Yeah, so I wrote a kind of detailed blog post celebrating the 10-year anniversary of our first Kickstarter, and I talked a lot about what are the lessons that we've learned from the first go round, and I go into quite a lot of detail about the kind of competing factors that were present in the Pebble ecosystem around 2015 and 2016. And one of them was that we had, we're building these physical things, we're building this hardware. And the way that you make money when you're building hardware is you have to build it and then sell it. You can't necessarily know ahead of time exactly how many units you're going to sell, at least in the traditional model that we were following, where we had kind of retail channels like I guess MediaMarkt and Best Buy and Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
And so towards the end of 2015, we had to project outwards. We had to say how many units did we think we would sell during the Christmas season of 2015, and we had to predict that about 3 or 4 months ahead of time in order to build and manufacture and distribute all of the watches that we hoped to sell. And we were off. We had projected that we would sell about $100 million worth of watches, and we sold, I think, just about $82 million. That sounds like a pretty good year. $82 million. That's a lot of sales. But when you're off by 20%, it could have a pretty dramatic impact um, on our financials. And so in 2016, we were put into a bit of a tailspin where we had to figure out how to kind of make the numbers work while also working on new projects and new products and kind of keeping the whole company going.
And now it's more condensed and smaller. And I saw in one of your recent announcements, we will only produce as much as people are willing to buy. No large overproduction anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a change from the first time round when we were building this more as a traditional startup, which had investors and was trying to change the world and invent this entire new product category. Whereas this time, we're recognizing that this is an amazing product. It's fun. It's had an incredible impact on my life and many people's lives. But at the end of the day, people who want one are going to be free to buy one, and we're not going to try to force anyone who doesn't want one to buy one.
What was your feeling when you saw Apple's approach, for example, of their Apple Watch, and seeing that the specs already, aside from the touchscreen, were pretty much worse? I mean, especially in terms of battery life, that's just a downer. It really feels like a downgrade if you have to charge your smartwatch.
I think it's a very different product.
Really?
And there's a couple different kind of classes of product on the market in terms of smartwatches or things that you can wear on your wrist.
Mm.
You've got Fitbit and Whoop type trackers, which are objects that don't have a screen. They track your heart rate, they track your health, they provide you insights into kind of your condition. Then you've got kind of the Pebble class of smartwatches, which are more like watches that happen to be smart as well. They show you notifications. They let you change the watch face. There's a bit of health tracking in there as well, but more than anything, they act as watches to tell you the time and also some other things. And then there's kind of triathlon devices or Garmin type watches, which are even more kind of extreme health and fitness tracking devices. And then at the top, you have the Apple Watch and I guess Pixel Watch and Samsung watches, which are almost like tiny smartphones that fit onto your wrist. They do a lot more. They have SIM cards, they have GPS, they have, you can take calls on them. They're almost designed as replacement devices for your phone or devices that could be, used in exchange for your phone. And I think it's okay. I think it's great that there are these different categories and different classes of devices because it's not a one size fits all world. Everyone has slightly different needs and requirements out of their products.
Interesting that you differentiate so much in different tiny subclasses, subsections, because for me, I see smartwatch in the same. I mean, I see the Apple Watch in the same category as a Pebble. Despite I really was sad when Pebble was no more. I actually, of course, pre-ordered the color version. It's supposed to be shipped to me in March. Can't wait for it, So
This is Pebble Time 2. I've got a
yeah, exactly.
a watch face there. Every hour it changes to a different Star Wars screen, movie poster or something like that. Yeah, so this is it. Pebble Time 2. It's got a much bigger screen than than the original Pebble. But yeah, it's working well. It runs Pebble OS, which is fully open source, and yeah, it's been great. I can't wait to get this onto your wrist and hear what you think of it.
I actually have one question, and I already asked that to support and Trevor, the support guy, I guess.
Yes.
He answered me, "You don't know yet," which actually surprised me because you already shipped some the black and white version. And what my question was about, what carrier will you use to ship the devices to Germany? Because it really depends on what carrier you use, how to pay the the import, customs
actually,
fees and stuff.
yeah. So you're asking a question. So we actually changed the way that we ship from 10
Oh,
years ago. So we ship everything prepaid. So you will not get a bill after you receive it with any duties or taxes. We'll ask for the duties and tax payment upfront ahead of time.
oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Okay.
this was kind of a nice change from that the whole world has kind of had, where people are expecting to be able to not get those kind of surprise bills or invoices
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
You know how it is in Germany? In Germany, it's like our national parcel carrier is DHL,
Yes.
because Deutsche Post, German postal service, bought DHL in 2001, so it became the national carrier, and it's a postman, or at least the parcel delivery guy, the driver, asking for money up front.
Yeah.
And
No,
if you don't pay,
doesn't
the parcel is returned to sender.
put away. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we wanted to fix that. So every
Awesome.
that doesn't happen anymore.
Awesome. So that's nice, because I remember when I placed the order last year, I think there was like two notes. One was, "We can't promise it's working nicely with your iPhone," and the second one, I believe, was, "We don't know yet about customs handling." So it's glad to hear that's
That's
sorted
all
out.
for the US though. That's because the US was just on the verge of enacting
Ah,
tariffs on products that are made
okay.
in China. And it was a good thing we did that, because on April 1st, Trump put a whole bunch of tariffs on products that are exported from China into the US. But that only applies to
Ah,
people who are in the States. Currently, the tariff is around, I think it's around $10 per unit for people who are getting it into the States. So it's not too much.
so lucky me, I'm German.
Yes, well, you have VAT to deal with, so that's a different thing.
On the other hand, it's actually the first time I convinced my mom that the Pebble Time 2 will be so awesome that she actually wants to get one too. Once I received mine, and
I'm really excited to
she's
hear it.
waiting for my verdict.
Good. You'll be the reviewer.
Exactly. Yeah, from son to mother, because I said, like, yeah, like perhaps a heart rate monitor at 70 plus isn't such a bad thing to have.
Well, there is one on the Pebble Time too. There's a heart rate monitor.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are so many success stories on the internet. I don't know how much of them are true, that people had heart rhythm errors, and they were detected, and that they were having an undetected heart issue that was detected thanks to their smartwatch they wore or something, because the ECG
Hmm.
showed some irregularities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was mainly Apple that is pointing that out each
Yes.
year.
Pebble definitely does not do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you also have this heart rate monitor stuff and so on.
Yes, but it's more for tracking to see, like, hey, what's your heart rate right this second. It doesn't offer any sort of statistics or pattern detection like that.
Okay. So, will there be any app? I mean, I think it would be beneficial if it would be able to, interact with what else is available on the health data. Just a thought. I don't know.
It's not really a big focus for us. I think that's kind of going back to like all these different products, and we've
Ah,
recognized that there are really good products in the space. If you want to track that, maybe you'll get an Apple Watch, or maybe you'll get a Garmin, or a Whoop, or a Fitbit. There's many options for people who want those type of features, and Pebble definitely does not kind of advertise support for those.
So, what is the focus? Battery life?
No, the focus is being a great watch that also shows notifications and lets you control your music and lets you download fun, cool watch faces like the one that I just showed off. That's it. That's what Pebble's for.
And notifications, of course,
And
right?
notifications.
That's
Yeah.
that's also important. Interesting. I really find that interesting that you make it so clear that it's a different product category almost,
Well, I
despite
wouldn't say that
it's still.
it's the original product category. That's what a smartwatch was. I
Mm.
think some people love having more features and having it be something that could, potentially replace your phone, but it's not for me.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, I already sold my Apple Watch, but when I had it was mostly just a notification
That's
device. I
that's
didn't
just
really I
yeah,
didn't really use it for anything else much. I
yeah.
have to admit. So I'm pretty sure I will use my Pebble time too a lot more, as I did with my original Pebble. I was on it all the time. So
That's great.
yeah, awesome. So I wonder, now that 10 years has passed, in those years where you didn't have a Pebble product and you weren't out there talking to podcasts like right now, was there did you look around what other people were doing in the space?
What
Did
do
you
you
have
what do you mean?
something? Hmm?
What do you mean looking around?
I mean, what were you busy with? I mean, you probably had other things to do, right?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I mean, you are a tech guy, right?
Yes.
So have you been planning, when Pebble went down to, like, okay, 10 years from now I will do it again,
No, no, no.
or were you just like, okay, I will never touch this topic ever again, and now I'm going, I don't know, now I'm going into smartphones, or I don't know,
No.
or
In the interim, I started a software company called Beeper. We built an app that lets you
Mhm.
chat with people on any chat network. It is a universal chat app, um, which is built on top of Matrix, an open source chat protocol. So I spent
Mhm.
5 years working on that, and that was a lot of fun. But it wasn't hardware, and so I always was dabbling in little hardware projects on the side here and there. Um, but eventually, it got to the point where I was running out of pebbles. I only had, a limited number that I had left over in
Okay.
my box. And I, have tried all the other smartwatches in existence, and none of them really fit the bill of exactly what I wanted out of a smartwatch. And so I looked at the market and said, I kind of want to have a Pebble back. I ended up going to Google, which was the company that bought Fitbit, which had bought Pebble, and so Google owned the IP, including the software. And I asked some friends that I knew at Google, I asked them if they would be open to open sourcing Pebble's operating system so that people could continue to develop software for Pebbles. And they agreed, which was incredibly nice of them. And so at the beginning of 2025, they published Pebble OS on GitHub. And at that point, that's when we began in earnest to work on creating new Pebble hardware.
I have to admit, those are actually two key surprises for me in this part of the story. Once, why would Fitbit even buy the assets and everything connected to Pebble and not use it at all? And second of all, why would Google do that and not be interested in the most important or most interesting asset?
Well,
Don't have other people the visionary view you have?
So I mean, Fitbit did buy Pebble, both the IP as well as a large portion of the engineering team. And so for a number of years after the acquisition, the people developing Fitbit's software and SDK were actually the Pebble kind of core engineering team. And so Pebble lived on inside Fitbit as the SDK and the app ecosystem and the app store that was present on Fitbit smartwatches. And then after Google acquired Fitbit, there's still a number of Pebblers inside the team there that were working on various smartwatch related projects.
So it's like low key in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. But nobody dared to make a real competitor product to yours with the assets they bought.
Fitbit did come out with a number of smartwatches after.
Yeah, but none of them were like Pebble, right?
No, I think one of the big differences with Pebble is that it uses an e-paper screen, and there's not many smartwatches that do that. One of the downsides of using an e-paper screen, though, is that it looks very different from, say, an Apple Watch. Like if you have an Apple Watch on one hand and a Pebble on the other, the screen looks extremely different. Pebble screens use a reflective technology rather than an OLED, which the Apple Watch uses. One thing we noticed is that when you compare in a store like MediaMarkt or Best Buy or that kind of thing, when you're looking at an Apple Watch and a Pebble, they look quite different, and in some ways the Pebble looks a lot worse, especially inside a store. It looks lower tech, it looks lower grade than this bright, shiny Apple Watch screen. And so, where did people buy these products? They bought them in stores. And that's where they kind of compared them or saw them. And so we knew that it was actually much harder to sell Pebbles in these stores because it just didn't have that same kind of luxurious look that an Apple Watch has.
Well, I'm a tech guy who cares about the looks, right? I don't need an OLED screen. I need features.
You're not reflective of the same cohort that I think Fitbit was going after. And so where I was going with this story is that I think Fitbit and many other people have decided not to use e-paper screen technology because it doesn't look as nice at the point of sale compared to an Apple Watch.
It's true.
Even though it may have these other features and benefits like long battery life and outdoor readability and etc. But it just it's harder to make that initial product sell.
Which is actually untypical if you go back to the history of standard fighting and competitor fighting in technology. For example, VHS, Betamax, or HD, DVD, Blu-ray. Not the shiniest product with the most features actually won the war,
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. So it's actually different there, I mean, important for me is function, and it's also amazing. You have Pebble and this community behind it. I mean, I already got my screen protector, and the Pebble Time 2 isn't even here yet. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing and awesome. I wonder, I don't know if you can talk about that because you didn't really talk about that in your podcast so far. Will there be a lot of development for owners for the original Pebbles? I mean, can you even improve the original Pebble watches so much?
Yeah, so there's actually a couple folks, including one ex-Pebble team member who is working on getting the open source software running on old Pebbles. It's possible. You could actually do a firmware update over Bluetooth from Pebble from the new kind of open source repository. There's a few problems outstanding. One is that the Bluetooth stack, the software driver for the Bluetooth chip on the old Pebbles was not included in the open source kind of release that Google made. And that was because we actually used a private closed source stack from a third party way back in the day. And so the new Pebbles use an open source Bluetooth stack. And I think there's been a couple of people that have been trying to get the new open source Bluetooth stack running on these old Pebble watches and their older Bluetooth chips, but no one's had complete success yet.
So it's still hacked and worked on.
Yes, exactly.
What do you think the rate of possible success will be?
I hope it's successful. That would be a lot of fun. It would be great to be able to spark up the. I mean, the good news is that all the old Pebbles work with the new mobile application, the Android and iOS app that we published. So even if you can't update the software, the existing software was pretty good. It worked for a decade already. There's not too many
Obviously.
bugs in it, and you can connect that to the new mobile application that we built.
And how about the hardware side? I mean, at the moment, we have this RAM and memory shortage thanks to AI,
Yeah.
and RAM is
You know,
getting more
it even
expensive.
affects us, even though we've only got about 32 megs of serial flash on the device. The cost of that serial flash has gone up in the last 12 months.
So that means in the future you will have to raise the prices
And it
as
hasn't gone up
well.
that much. I think it went up from maybe $1 to $1.20.
Wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's funny to see the impact of kind of those large geopolitical decisions, trickling down all the way to the price of 32 megabytes of serial flash.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, I mean, especially since I'm so much into retro, that's why I have an arcade cabinet behind me. I remember where in the 80s, 90s, every bit of RAM every bit of memory or ROM or whatever was so expensive.
Yeah.
You would have as little as possible. And nowadays you have like huge cartridges with big games in it, and like, oh, what about the music? No problem, we have so much memory nowadays, we just stream it directly from the memory to the device. We don't need to scramble it all and compress it and make the data little. And now we are going backwards again, giving new devices less memory because now memory is getting expensive again. It's a bit like we are going back in time.
Technology is
It's
cyclical. Yeah.
yeah, it's so. I mean, there are some experts saying like TVs will have less memory in the future because the memory is getting expensive and people don't want to pay more for their Android TVs or whatever. So isn't that kind of a shock for people like you?
I mean, nothing shocks me anymore in the world of hardware.
Is that so? Yeah.
During the pandemic, there was a bunch of component shortages because people were buying more cars, and the car vendors needed more silicon, and that pushed a lot of other people out of the market. It's all connected. It's all linked together. We live in a large geopolitical world market, and yeah, everything is interconnected.
And you will always find a way around it, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about other devices. I mean, you're not only working on your smartwatches, but you also recently announced the
Smart
external memory ring, right? Yeah.
Yes, we created a new class of product. The first new non-watch product that we've made is called Index. It's a ring that you
Exactly.
wear on your index finger. When you press the button down, you can record your voice into the microphone on the ring. The ring sends the recording to your phone where it gets transcribed. Think of it as like a portable voice note recorder that's always on your body. I use it especially while I'm bicycling to remember things that I need to do or add to my to-do list, or just little short bits of memory that previously would just be kind of rumbling around in my head and forcing me to kind of reiterate it over and over again so that I don't forget it. Now I can just quickly press a button on my finger, talk into it, and know kind of comfortably that it's being stored and recorded in a notes in the Pebble Notes app.
Interestingly, for the TikTok podcast episode, that's what your podcast is called, you named it, we made a $75 external memory for your brain.
Yeah.
And people in the comments were shredding you for making it without replaceable battery. And that was the most number one negative comment on it, and people were like, "So you are just going to trash it if I send in my old ring?" And I wonder what was. I mean, I probably you saw it. What were your thoughts about that?
We designed this ring to be 100% reliable. I needed to know when I pressed the button that it would work, that it would remember for me. I've tried other solutions to this problem. I have a bunch of Google Homes in my house, that will respond to the magic words that I can't say, because if I say them, all of the devices will turn on. But I found that wake words just were not reliable enough. If I said, "Hey Siri" or "Okay Google," it just wouldn't work 100% of the time. It would work maybe 80% of the time or 90% of the time. But that last 10% of the time just caused me, when it would say, "Oh, sorry, I can't do this," or "Sorry, I didn't hear you," or "Sorry," I just realized that I couldn't rely on that as a means of kind of extending my memory outside of my brain. So I needed to have a product that I could always rely on. And so every decision that we made in the index drives towards this reliability. It's got a button, a physical click button. You can press it and you know exactly when you've pressed it. It's got internal memory on the ring, so that if your phone is not there, it will still record and it will transmit the message back to your phone when you get to it. But above all, I realized that I didn't want to have to charge this. And I knew that if I could charge this, or if I had to charge this, there would be, a time or a period of the day where I didn't have it on my finger. You were charging it. Maybe some people would charge it overnight. But I also noticed that people who had some of the other smart rings, like the Aura ring, they would leave it on the charger and then forget to put it back on, which defeats the whole purpose of having external memory for your brain. For me,
True.
it had to be something that I would have on at all times. If I didn't, it wouldn't become second nature. It wouldn't become this muscle memory device for me. And so to do that, to build something that would never need to be charged, we had to approach it from kind of an engineering perspective. And what we decided was to make this, a product that has no way to charge it, literally. It has a battery capacity that's measured in years, and it's designed to not be like, a voice note recorder that you put on your desk when you go to a lecture. And it's designed only to record these very short, kind of quick moments during the day when you need to almost have a scratch pad, have this external, a notepad that you could always write down things on. And so the battery life, lasts for years without needing
10
it.
years, 20 years?
On average, it depends on how much you use it. But for me, I use it about 5 to 10 times per day, and we're estimating that it will last for around 2 years.
Okay. And the process is you send it back in and you replace the battery or recycle it, or
Yeah, we recycle it. It's mostly made out of stainless steel, so we recycle the stainless steel. It uses disposable batteries, similar to what you'd find in a hearing aid. And those, you throw away the batteries, but you can buy a new one if you really got that much value out of it, that you used it for multiple years, and it provided that service of being, external memory for your brain. You just buy another one.
yeah, but what you have for you in that regard, it's not very expensive. That's a plus there. It's
Yeah, that
not
was
like
one of the key components that we thought about. It's also not very expensive to try out. Like, many people will buy a new product and decide later whether it's something that actually will be a habit for them. Like you said with your Apple Watch, or you said with, these other products. Not everything sticks. Not everything becomes a habit for you. And we knew
true.
that the more expensive we made the product, the more difficult it would be for people to try out and see if it was something that would benefit them.
Right. So to the original question was, what was your first reaction when you saw people commenting negatively on the you have to recycle it rather than exchange the battery? So the answer would be people don't get the use case you put there. They don't understand the design concept behind it, and that is why they still struggle to accept buying a device that you can't replace the battery or charge
Possibly.
or recharge it.
Yeah, possibly.
Ah,
That's true.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if I may be frank, isn't it a risk in a time nowadays where everybody is like like air pollutioning, save the planet, save the climate, and then you design a product like, okay, we recycle it after 2 years and you have to buy a new one, and where other companies saying we are not including a charger, so you have less e-waste, which is the other argument, you know. Wouldn't it be like producing more waste, at least for the rechargeable batteries? I guess since you said it's not rechargeable, it's probably like alkaline.
It's silver oxide batteries. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's a good point. And I think going back to one of the topics that we discussed a little bit earlier, everything is connected, right? We live in an
Right.
interconnected world, and
Right.
it's very difficult to analyze, one particular product or service or something in its vacuum, right? Everything is part of this interconnected world. And when you think about what goes into the ecological impact of a product, you think about the components that were made, but you also think about the shipping costs and the
True.
production costs, the production energy costs. It's difficult, and you think about what are the other alternatives that you would have used if you didn't have a ring like this, right? And so it's tough. I'm not here to say that I know the ecological footprint or the precise amount of carbon that's been released by this. It's a difficult thing to kind of project outwards, but I would say that it's good to have options. It's good to have different products, and if you're the type of person that is allergic to throwing away a scrap of a 3 gram, because that's how much this weighs, 3 grams of scrap, then I would hold you to a very high standard where I would hope that you live your life in such a way that every single gram of product that you consume and use is kind of evaluated in the same way. But the truth is that this is 3.5 grams.
Right.
It's not going to
Right.
be the largest thing that you throw away today, let alone the most impact that one of your carbon decisions might have. So
I mean, you could say this is the internet. Keyboard warriors, like you can't touch me. I'm anonymous, so I'm nasty in the comments, kind of.
I think at this point in my life, I'm not super worried about that.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. So I wonder, is there anything else coming up
Yes,
next to the ring and
absolutely.
to the
We
smartwatch?
we
Probably something you can't talk about, right?
Well, I mean, we announced a new product called Pebble Round 2 a couple weeks ago, which was a round smartwatch. That's going to be starting to ship in May, but we're working on a bunch of fun stuff. Like the way that I'm thinking about this company is I love gadgets. I love building them. I love using them. I love wearing them. I
Yeah.
love listening to podcasts about them. I love gadgets. To me, a gadget is a it's an expression, a kind of unadulterated expression of joy. I grew up reading gadget magazines. I read, um,
Dick
early
Tracy.
early blogs. No, more like I read popular science magazines. Um, I read about early kind of pen computing. One of my first devices that I ever owned was an eMate, one of the Apple pen computers that they made, back in the 90s. And so I love gadgets, and I am starting this company explicitly to make gadgets, and I think of Pebble as a gadget. It is a fun, cool device that doesn't take itself too seriously, that doesn't try to change the world. It's not proclaiming some major big impact. It's a fun device, it's helpful, and if anything, it makes you smile a little bit when you look down at it. And so if you're looking forward, I think you could expect a lot of other fun, cool, joyful gadgets in the future from us.
I mean, I have 9 other fingers I can put gadgets on, and the
I like
second wrist I could use.
That's
So,
an opportunity.
so yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all interconnected. Index finger ring, and smartwatch, smartphone. So the next thing could be augmented reality classes and stuff.
I've tried out the glasses. I've bought a bunch of them. I've tried them. I don't wear glasses other than being at the computer. Have you tried them yet? Have you tried smart glasses?
No,
Yeah,
no.
they're interesting. I'll keep playing with them. Nothing has become like I bought the Meta Ray Bans. Like even those I don't use always. They haven't made it to the point where I'm using them on a daily basis.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, and if you listen to other pioneers, they are talking about implants in your brain and stuff. So
Someday.
yeah. Hopefully, when we are not alive anymore. I don't know if you want something to be planted into my brain. I mean, basically, okay, we have that already. I mean, nowadays you have like brain pacemakers, for people who have Parkinson and stuff. You actually can suppress those wrong going signals in your brain, which is amazing, so basically it's just the next logical step because we already have the technology, right?
On the direction to a matrix style plug that goes into the back of your spinal cord.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll come back and we'll talk about that on the podcast in 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
Gotta
thinking
upgrade
about
to
it.
The latest brain neural interface.
Exactly. I mean, thinking about it, that we already have that, it's kind of scary, right? Yeah. But now the question is, if you had a medical condition and you had the option, would you do it, or would you say, I'd rather have meds and have a bit less of success for suppressing of the symptoms? It's also depending. It's also depending on each person, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember I was having similar conversation with Chuck Pebble, who did in the 70s the first microprocessor, trying to pitch it to Motorola at the time. And I remember he also designed the PET in 1977 for Commodore. And I remember he had discussions, computers replacing teachers. So we are all doomed. We are all doomed with the technology, the progress.
YouTube has already replaced teachers in many, many ways. So that.
Yeah. So there were always people being scared of new technologies.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned Pebble Round 2. It's almost like you are reading people's mind, because I saw on German eBay that somebody actually sells his Pebble Round, his original Pebble Round, but with a broken battery. And I saw on AliExpress
you could have replaced those. Yeah,
exactly. On AliExpress for $5 you can get a replacement battery. I was almost thinking about perhaps getting one, and that was and then like a week later you made your announcement of the Pebble Round 2. It was like, perhaps I'm getting, a second smartwatch on the side,
It is pretty classic. I love the Pebble Time Round. It's a beautiful, beautiful gadget. And still worth having in the collection.
I wonder though, perhaps we can go into that. Why did you have less battery life and no sensors? Was that because of the round space giving less possibilities?
Much less size. Yeah. So circles are less voluminous than rectangles there. And you had to make a decision. We had to make a decision to optimize for thickness. So we wanted to have an extremely thin case. It's just 8 millimeters thick. And we, couldn't fit everything that fits into the Pebble Time 2 into it.
Interesting. So it's like a compromise.
Yes, everything in the world is a compromise, and this is especially a compromise. I wouldn't think of it as a compromise so much as you're designing a solution to a system of constraints.
You're really
mathematical problem.
You're really good at sales pitches.
Well, I don't think that's a sales pitch. I think it's a sales pitch we're trying to say that it does everything, right? It's the opposite of a sales pitch. I'm
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of acknowledging that it doesn't do everything and saying you shouldn't buy it in a lot of these different cases.
Was that one of the new decisions you made?
Yes.
Like if I do the Pebble watches again, I'm going out there full public and being totally honest and making a podcast, telling people about every single step and making a blog, reporting about it, and I'm sitting in interviews explaining everything. The extra amount of work you're putting this to keep people in the loop and informed is such a big work on top. Don't you have other things to do? That's what I wonder all the time when I see you spend so much time in being transparent. No other hardware maker is like you.
I think that's true, but I also think that most other hardware makers are approaching this as if they are, a large company building, like I was saying, this product that's going to change the world or, become very large. We're approaching it as a fun project that we are working on because we love it, really. I'm doing exactly what I love these days. And I'm happy to share it with the world. Like, one of the explicit things that I'd love to do with my podcast is help teach people how they can build gadgets, how they could build other smartwatches. I think it's much easier than it's ever been to build these products, and I am excited to try other people's gadgets as well if they could build cool and fun and interesting devices.
I think it would be totally awesome. I don't know if you ever thought about that. If you would make a collab with other people in the space. For example, think about the person who's known as the iPhone guy, which is Scotty Allen, Strange Parts. We also
Yes.
had him on the
Yeah.
podcast.
I mean,
where he made his own iPhone from electronics computer parts markets in Shenzhen, China. Like, totally
I was there
awesome.
with him last week. I was in Shenzhen with him last week in Huaqiao Bay. It was great.
I hope you recorded it.
We did not. We were just having dinner. So he and I.
Oh, too bad. Too bad.
Someday.
Too bad. Yeah, too bad. So see, I gave you ideas there.
Good idea.
So you already are in touch with other tech people.
Yeah, and I'd love to be in touch with more folks as well. I'd love to help people who are working on their own projects and help them use Pebble's operating system now, which is open source. And even the electronic design, we published the schematic and the KiCad project files for Pebble 2 Duo. So, yeah.
Can we talk about the Pebble, the black and white one that you re-released? I think it was based on old new stock that wasn't used.
Yes.
I don't know how much units you produced. 150 or something. I think it was a limited run, right?
We produced a couple thousand. I think it was like 6,000 or 7,000 watches.
Okay, 6,000 or 7,000. And I saw on Reddit a thread where people were complaining about broken buttons.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
People were like, they are I don't know, like breaking in without much force to be, I don't know how you say it in English.
I think we've only gotten
brittle or whatever.
I think we've gotten maybe, so anyone who's mentioned this to us in support has gotten a new replacement watch. So I think we've probably replaced maybe 20 units so far, 20, 30 out of 6,000 or 7,000. So yeah, it's definitely a problem for some small percentage of units, but yeah.
It's not big numbers, but it's obviously big enough because I saw one business in UK already offering 3D printed replacements.
The original Pebble 2, which came out in 2016.
Pardon, I didn't get that. What?
That was a company who was selling replacement buttons for the original Pebble, which is the same as this one, but that product came out in 2016.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that the original Pebble had similar issues because mine works.
Not the original Pebble, but the original Pebble 2, which came out in 2016.
Yeah. why was that? Was that the kinds of plastic or?
So it was made out of the same, like the Pebble 2 Duo is made out of the exact same part as the Pebble 2.
Mm-hmm. And the I don't know how that works. Is it like that the material was different and
No, it's the
hence?
material's the same, actually, exactly the same.
Yeah, but why was it like less durable than the other models?
Oh, it was just manufactured in a different way with different materials. Each pebble was slightly different. Some were made out of metal, some were made out of different types of plastic. They all were slightly different.
And you didn't know back then, of course, which one would survive the best, I guess.
That's correct.
But I mean, if you say 6,000 units sold and only 20, had issues, not really a big margin, right? So,
Yeah.
But of course, as always, when you have feedback on the internet, people who are happy don't go on the internet and say, I'm happy.
I think there's a ton of people. I think one of the really fun things about the Pebble community is seeing, which watch faces people pick in the morning. There's a really popular kind of thread of people posting like, oh, this is the watch face that I downloaded from the App Store. This is what I'm using, or this is the watch face that I built. And I love that. I think that is just spectacular to see, the creativity of being able to go and change your watch every day and pick a different thing. It kind of goes back to what I said around Pebble being one of these products that brings a little bit of joy to your life. When you glance down and look at your wrist, you're smiling.
I wonder if we can talk about that. I mean, you also took over or worked together with the people who did Repebble, I think it was.
Rebel.
Or Rebel.
Yeah.
Rebel. And I saw there was some kind of drama there.
Yes.
Of excusing each other for stealing reputation and
Yes.
and in the end you resolved that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, there's an extensive amount of blog posts, and no, I've said everything that I need to say about that in the blog post, and if you're interested, there's a blog post to read up on that. But I don't have anything else to say on that subject.
Okay, yeah. So that means right now you are totally happy, and you are waiting for everybody to receive their Pebble Time 2s in March.
Yeah, we're in the process of getting Pebble Time 2 into production. I was just in China
last week
and a half ago. Yeah, about that, and we're getting close, getting really darn close.
Awesome. So, are you thinking about making other smartwatches next to perhaps making a new Pebble steel? I don't know if you can talk about that.
Pebble steel, we did. So Pebble Time 2 is made out of steel. Yeah, it's made out of stainless steel.
Okay, so it's kind of
Yeah, this is it. This is the Pebble steel. It's steel all around. Its buttons are steel. The only thing that isn't steel is a layer of polycarbonate that separates you see here how it separates the two parts of the steel. This is to isolate it because the top part is actually the antenna, the Bluetooth antenna. And if we had the top part touch the bottom part, that would ground the antenna against your body, and so we needed a separator there, and so that is polycarbonate.
I mean, you could do it like Apple with the iPhone 4 in 2011. You're holding it wrong.
No, we could not do it like that. Yeah.
Oh my god, I remember that part. Oh my god, yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. So since we have the Pebble round 2, the original Pebbles recreated and obviously sold out, and then the Pebble Time 2 comings in March. There are not many other possibilities for Pebble watches. I mean, you got them all, right? Right? I mean, you could only make like bigger sizes, but
I don't think so. I feel like the sizes that we've got are really good. They work for people that have smaller wrists. They work for people that have larger wrists. yeah, I don't know really what I would change. I'm very happy with what we built.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, now, are you also looking at you know other areas? I just saw your recent guests were from from a company that are making a successor to the BlackBerry phones.
Yeah, I chatted with the Clicks guys.
Exactly,
Kind of fun,
exactly.
isn't that? Did you check that out?
Of course,
Yeah.
I watched the whole episode, especially since Michael Fisher is one of the founders of the company. That
Yeah.
obviously piqued my interest, since I'm a fan of him, and
No, it's
it's
very,
it's
but I love all these little gadgets. I love to see people build these things, and I love to help them as they're working on it.
now the question is, will there really be a market now that people are used to touch screens? I mean, it also probably depends on your age group, because if you look into, I think you say Generation C, the youngsters,
Yeah, will people
they
use keyboards? I don't know. But I'm supportive of there being more options. I think that,
true.
too long tech has been, a slab of glass with a little bit of metal around it in your pocket. And I'm excited that there's going to be more options out there for people who choose to use it.
That's true. That's true. Um, yeah, and I mean, we will see. We will see what happens. I mean, right now, I guess the market goes towards foldable devices. I saw a lot of coverage recently about expensive smartphones in China that are breaking because the hinge mechanism for the foldable screens is not as reliable as manufacturers would like it to be. So perhaps we are at a spot where we are advancing too soon, too much.
Yeah, I think foldables have been around for 10 years now. They've come. Some people like them, some people don't, and that's okay. Again, going back to what I said, it's great. I love that there's more options out there.
You don't think that we should have waited till it's like as reliable as
No,
non-foldable phones?
no, that would be terrible. That would be horrible, because then there'd be less options for people who want to pick something that
Interesting.
is foldable. Absolutely. If we all waited until everything was perfect and everything, was just as, repairable and whatever as the last generation, we'd never get any new products.
I have to admit, from all the tech guests we had here in the podcast, I think you are the most open and most daring one.
Well,
You
I'm
know,
happy to fill that place.
actually, you're totally. Why not? Let's
Yeah.
go for it. Any other way would mean less options. So now let me ask you, because I simply have to ask you, since you are so open to
Well, don't do the
everything.
last question. But I do have to
Yeah,
head off soon. But yeah,
of course, of course.
one
So
more.
the last question would be, what's your take on AI? I mean, do you think it will burst like a bubble, like the dot-com bubble in 1999?
Oh, there might be a bubble. Yeah, I'm sure that there might be like a stock investing bubble. But just like
Mm,
the bubble in 1999, we're still using computers. We're still, technology has had a straight, if not curved line directly from there. And, the genie's out of the bottle. There's no going back. AI is an incredible invention. I use it hundreds of times per day, if not thousands. And yeah, it's amazing. I think there's a
awesome.
lot of people who don't get the full impact of this, and just like William Gibson said, the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed yet. And so I think there's
Okay.
still a lot of people who are going to feel the positive impacts of AI over the next couple of years. But I was just thinking this morning about, how I use AI to code constantly, and I use it to control my computer, and I use it to control all these things in my life. And I use it through mostly a kind of chat-based interface. I talk to my computer, and it talks back. And I was thinking, I don't have any friends who are blind, but I've been wondering. I'm going to hopefully get the chance to chat with some people, how much of an impact this has had on people who are blind, who previously had to use kind of the voiceover assistants, or the things that kind of we use these visual interfaces, right? We interact with computers through keyboards and through the mice and through these visual interfaces, but up until now, that's been the only way that you could really interact with the internet or computers. And now with AI, you have this verbal interface through a conversation, and that's very accessible for people who are blind. And I kind of want to learn more about whether this has been as transformative as I expected to be for people who previously couldn't interact with computers in the same way. Like, imagine coding, right? Coding is typing and reading other people's code and reading documentation and that kind of thing. And it required a lot of dexterity and a lot of kind of classic interface, keyboard mice interface. And now you could code and build things just by talking. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, once I had the interview with Forrest Moser, who invented speech synthesis, and one of the first use cases for speech synthesis was actually talking elevators for blind people, so they can actually use the elevator.
Yeah.
And know where to press, what to press, and if the elevator is actually stopping on the right level. So.
Yeah, and now you have that, but you have that multiplied by every technological system kind of in existence. It's must be an incredible unlock, and I feel it.
Yeah,
certainly.
Awesome. Yeah, and especially in the field of medicine, I mean, AI can detect cancer cells a lot better than a doctor with his eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
Amazing,
Yes.
Awesome. So I don't want to hold up you so much anymore.
Well, it was great chatting with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And looking forward to hearing what you and your mother thinks of their new Pebbles when you put them on your wrist.
I will definitely email you or even make a forum post about it. I saw you are very active on the forums as well.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have a
Bye,
good day.
Eric.
See you.
You too. Bye.